Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the show. I'm very excited because this week we have, I think, one of your favorite guests, and that is my husband, Raúl Sanchez, hubby hubster. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me here.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling fantastic.
Yeah, you're
Yes,
excited?
I'm excited.
Love it. So, we are recording this episode together because we recently celebrated our 1 year marriage anniversary. And some of you guys know, if you're on social media, that we had the most beautiful backpacking trip in Yosemite. We'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah, we wanted to do kind of a little roundup of how life has been this year. There's been a lot of big changes, and kind of just walk you along how the journey has been.
It has been amazing.
Are you being for real?
I'm being for real. For reals.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you doing this. I know it's 8 p.m. on a Thursday, which is actually normally our date night day.
Yeah,
So this is kind of like our date night.
fun.
Well, we'll also get to some Instagram questions at the end. I posted a little thing on Instagram and we got a few questions. So we can start with talking a little bit about how our year was, what some of our big changes were, some of the things we've learned, and then just see where it goes.
All right, let's start.
Let's go. So, let's give you guys some background. Our anniversary is August 6th. So we got married last year in France. It was the most beautiful wedding ever. And we stayed in Europe for a few months after. That was our honeymoon and our kind of like break in between both of us leaving our jobs and starting our own new adventures as entrepreneurs. If you guys don't know, Raul started an amazing company called Eco Experience Program. You can go to episode number 2 and listen as he shares all about that journey, listening to his intuition, and creating a very inspiring company. And yeah, we came back around October, November, and we moved to this new place in Marin. So we've been here for almost a year. What is that,
Yeah.
10 months? That was a big transition to come back and move back here and make the decision to come back to California because we weren't really sure if we were going to or not. And then to also transition into both being newly entrepreneurs. How has that been?
It has been quite a journey. I think that there has been a lot of moving pieces during these past 10 months. And I think that I feel very lucky of the life that we have.
Hmm. Tell me more.
Well, we're in love. We're both working towards something that's very dear to us and towards something that we're very passionate about. And I often say that eco experience is my calling, which doesn't mean that every morning I wake up and I see butterflies and everything is amazing, but it means that it's a responsibility, and it has been such an amazing challenge to have to grow this business. And part of the good things, the challenging things, and just keep on growing as an entrepreneur, as a person, at the same time as we start our marriage together.
Hmm. Yeah. And it's been really cool because since we both work from home, we're actually recording this right now in our little office. We kind of made it like a co working space, I guess, where we have each our desk and we get to be colleagues in a way, but each working on our own thing.
Yeah, and I will say that that's one of my favorite things that this year has brought, that we're able to collaborate, but collaborate in a way that's it's fun, because if I don't know, if I'm talking with a new school or I have a new client, I can just go out and celebrate, and you're there and I can tell you all about it. Or if I'm going through a problem and I need somebody to chat with, you're there and we can chat about it, and vice versa.
Hmm.
And I think that this is a very unique moment in our lives that we're able to do that because of the space that we're living, because our businesses are still fairly small, because we don't have any kids. With Eco Experience, I don't have an office yet that I have to go to. So I think that this is a moment that's gonna be very much, at least from my side, reminded with a lot of love, and yeah, it's been fun, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been so fun. Both what you said, like to celebrate when there's new clients or new things, and also to talk through some of the tougher things and how we should react or handle it. And it's very true because since neither of us have partners and co founders in the way that we're creating these businesses, it can get super lonely. And so it's true. When I talk to other friends who are solopreneurs, like that's one of the things that's the hardest. And you're right. I think we're really lucky to have each other.
Yeah, and I think that us both being entrepreneurs, we add a lot to each other's businesses. I think that we share a lot of ideas and we brainstorm together and we help
Hmm.
each other. So I think that that's awesome.
Yeah. So, one of the big things that I want to talk about is we made a decision I mean, we just said like we work together as colleagues, but we each work on our own businesses, right? And we've made a big decision. I guess I have made a big decision, but you were extremely supportive and agreed on that decision to no longer work with you in certain capacity for Eco Experience. And I think that decision or coming to that decision would never have been possible without therapy. And I definitely want to talk about our couples therapy journey and, the what the last year has brought and each being on our own talk therapy journey, but we're able to come to this decision because I realized I was working and helping you for the wrong reasons actually. I have people pleasing tendencies. I want your love. I want to make you happy. I want to feel needed. Yeah. And so I was working and doing the things that you wanted, but not because I wanted them, but because I was like expecting some kind of love or something back. Like there was a codependency tendency that I have there. And I think being able to work through that in therapy and realizing that every time that I was working on it with you, I was growing resentment. And one of the things our therapist has said is how resentment is suicide for the soul. And it was exactly that. It was like me also saying yes to you, or not being able to say no also means that I wasn't saying yes to myself and to my projects. And I think if we look back, even at the time of just once I really started like setting a boundary, how fast things have shifted for me and how much they've grown. So yeah, I used to, kind of be there, and it was also handy for you because if you needed a guide or an extra pair of hands, like I was there and I was able to do it. And we had to have like a conversation to figure this out.
Yeah, I think that, well, for eco experience, one of the hardest things is to find people that want to do this type of work and that they enjoy spending time with the kids and that they are prepared for that and capable and all of that and have the skills needed. And it was very easy for me to rely on you as one of the guides, one of the helpers, and also because there were so many things that were happening backstage, right? So since we're sharing, of course, the home, it was easy for me to be like, okay, let's just both work on this right now or help
Hmm.
me with this. And I think that it was challenging to kind of hear that you were not going to help me anymore. And I could also see how working together was harming. It wasn't a good relationship. It wasn't like a nice, at least it wasn't an enjoyable. At some points it was, but most of the time it wasn't that enjoyable between us because our interactions we're not used to interacting in a professional way. We're used to interacting in a loving way.
Yeah.
So it just changed the dynamic, and I think that that was not healthy for us, at least at this point in our relationship.
I also think it's because since I was growing resentment, I was bringing off that
Hmm.
energy, right? And so it was like almost like attacking
Yeah.
you, which happened once during one of the trips. And I think another way for me that it was harming the relationship is when on one of the camping trips, so I helped Raul think of the menu and the portions and all these things. And then it turns out that there wasn't enough food, that like some of the proportions were not right. And just to paint a picture also for the audience, when you go on these trips, you have like zero service. I often, right? Like I don't hear from you, or like if it is, it's like a text a day being like, everything's good, like all good, blah, blah. And I remember this trip, one of the last trips, you sent me, I think it was around May, and you were like, oh my God, there's not enough food. Like you were worried and stressed out. And I wasn't able to be there and support you and hold you as a partner. I was like going into shit, this is my fault. I messed up. And then that created a dynamic where I was like, wait, but I don't have any other answers. So I was really stressed and feeling bad about it. Whereas if it was something that went wrong and I'm like, as your wife, letting you know, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm here for you. Do you want to talk? Like, it's just a very different dynamic.
I think that I also was able to let go of you helping me with your experience. Actually, also through therapy, because in one of the conversations that I had with my coach, she brought up that I was being very fixated when things were not going my way or where things were not going easy. And that there's a divine plan behind everything, right? If I have a guide that said yes, he or she was gonna come, and then they cancel on me last minute, there's really nothing that I could do. And me stressing about it or being fixating in that doesn't add any value. So
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I just need to move on and know that that's for the best, and that there's a solution somewhere or another person ready to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that you or that us not working together is for the right reasons, and I trust that that's in general for the best, even though in that particular moment it's more challenging.
Yeah. I know today you also heard some news about a potential guide not working out for a future trip. And my first reaction, and I didn't even tell you this yet, but my first reaction is like, okay, do I have plans that week? Like, am I available?
Yeah,
And it's also really hard for me to not say that and to, because you were like, hey, do you know any other people or whatever? And yeah, it's not easy to say no. And so I think that's where we're both continuing to do the work,
yeah.
which is so important. Another thing is, just in the same line, is the fact that our house kind of becomes a warehouse, as you said, since we share a home. And so, I mean, you have talked a lot about before outside of the podcast about how you love these moments too.
I do. I think that it's beautiful because, I'm growing eco experience from the grounds up, and these are the moments that I know I'm going to remember forever. Coming home and seeing all of the groceries for 90 people for 4 days, which means that the house is like a warehouse. I know it's temporarily, that it's not going to be forever. And I also want to be present with that moment and know that that's the way it started, and it's starting small, and eventually we're going to have a warehouse or an office or whatnot. But now that's the moment, and that's beautiful.
Yes, beautiful, and it's soon ending.
That's still on discussions.
We're still figuring that one out, guys. No, but it's also good. It's showing the fact that you are growing as a company and that you're also in need of a space, and so that's beautiful. All right, did we cover working together slash not working together?
I think so.
I
We did
think so.
great.
The other thing I will say is, we have talked about like if there is moments where actually in each of our business, like if there ever is a moment where we would want to like contract each other or something, that we would do it, but it would be under that of like, here's, how it works, and just like you would hire anybody else. Yeah. And then there was also an opportunity to say yes or no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the last thing. All right, should we move on to couples therapy?
Couples therapy.
So, we talked, I think, in the last podcast about how we did our pre marriage therapy with our coach, and that was beautiful. And then around March or April, we were kind of struggling.
Yeah, we were.
Do you want to talk about it?
I think that we were in different pages about many things, and we were kind of like stuck into the same discussions. And I guess we were not able between us to find a way to, I'm not going to say move forward, but a way to both.
Like a way to feel at peace with
Yeah.
things,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah. That.
I think it was we were in a hamster wheel of
Yeah.
like continuing to get into the same thing. And so I suggested that maybe we should do another couples therapy. And I think in the end, we did it in like July or something by the
Hmm.
time we actually got our schedules. And it was at a moment also where it was right before you had a lot of camps and it just didn't make sense then. But I think what it really, or no, it was June. Anyway, it really showed us how there was a lot of deeper things going on inside each of us that we actually weren't able to communicate. And so she made us do this exercise, which is when you say, and then you say whatever the other person says, I feel, and then you share a feeling. And then that person hears you, they say, I'm sorry. And then it's like we did it back and forth like that. And then at the end, she kind of wrote the list of like all the feelings we had. And I remember there was like, feeling unworthy, feeling disappointed, feeling unseen. And then she was like, hearing that you guys are feeling all these feelings, like, is this the kind of marriage you want to have? And that was such a actually beautiful way to realize, like, wow, when I say these things, this is what you're feeling. And I had no idea that you were feeling that way.
Yeah. I think that in general, couples therapy really unblocks things that we each bring to the marriage that we unconsciously do it and that we might not want to do it. Or it really guides the way into creating a conscious marriage where we are constantly bringing the best of ourselves
Hmm.
into our marriage. And I think it's not always easy, right? We both come from different backgrounds. We were brought up in different ways. We're both entrepreneurs. We each have our own definition of, I guess, we have different expectations, or we have grown up with different expectations about marriage.
Hmm.
And many of these are, like I said, unconscious, right? And being able to talk about that and uncover what is unconscious really creates the space for us to bring consciousness and create the marriage that we want to create.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that was kind of a point of tension was me feeling like we weren't doing a lot of things together, like trips or different things. And I mean, looking back in our year so far, we've done so much. But there was this feeling, which I also think comes from two things. One, the fact that we see the way couples are supposed to be a certain way, like just from society, not even just from what we've experienced as our parents, but what society tells you and shows you. And then there was this other side, well, I guess it's the same one, of feeling like I couldn't do those things that I wanted to do without you, kind of thing. And I think one of the things we've really worked on this year is each of us doing the things we want to do. And so that does mean we do a lot of things separate. And I think that's actually really healthy. Well, actually, this is something that came out in my Reiki master training, but she talked a lot about interdependence. So the separation between, obviously, you don't want to be codependent and you don't want to be completely independent because you are in a marriage together, but finding your interdependence. And I feel like this is something that we've both found a lot more this year.
I think that what it's been very helpful for me is that I'm able to give the time to the things that I want without feeling guilty that you are not feeling that we spend enough time together.
And it's because we've also created a plan of what is the time that we're spending together
Yeah.
and what are the trips we're doing. And because I think one of the things we discovered in therapy is for me, something that's so important is to create things outside of the routine.
Yeah.
Whereas you live our marriage a lot more in the routine.
Yeah. I think that we both appreciate different things from our marriage. Yeah. From what we were chatting, for you, it's very valuable that we do things outside and that we bring this variety. Whereas I enjoy so much our routine and our daily living together where we get to share so much and laugh and just be together. And for me, that's awesome. And I don't need anything else. But I also understand that for you, it's important that we do things outside of that. So
And you also recognize when we do how important, like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
trip
of
we
course.
just did. And every time we come back from a trip, you're like, this was so good for us. And I think another thing that came out is that because I was like continuously pushing for those things outside, you felt like I wasn't grateful for our day to day.
Yeah.
And so, one thing I've been working on is practicing more sharing with you how grateful I am and how important the day to day is. And vice versa. You've been like, you were huge in the end. You basically planned our whole 1 year anniversary trip, which usually I'm the one that plans trips. So I feel like we're doing great.
We're doing great. I mean, also we went backpacking, so I was so excited. But not only because of that.
Basically, he figured out a way to make our 1 year. No, no, I'm not going to go there because it's not true. It was beautiful.
It
It
was
was
awesome.
so awesome. So, what did we do?
We went backpacking to Yosemite. So the place we went was 4 hours walking distance from where we parked the car, and we needed to pack our food, our tents, sleeping bags, sleeping pads, all of the equipment to survive for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
So the backpacks were a little bit heavy, and but it was so worth it. I mean, the road was amazing. You know, the hike there was awesome, and then just reaching to that place, it was so magical. And also knowing that not everybody gets to be there kind of gives this sense of this effort. It's totally worth it
Mm-hmm.
because you get to spend a lot of time by yourself in nature.
It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
I think for me, the things that were my favorite of this time is we were so secluded. And so it really was like when I talk about wanting quality time with you, that was such quality time. We had amazing conversations. Also, there's no distractions. There was no phone, like there was no service, there was no internet,
Yeah.
there was no screens, there was no emails that come through. Like it's pure disconnection. And I think we both, I mean, there's a lot going on as entrepreneurs. There's a lot of pings that you can get. And so it was so nice to have complete disconnection from the world and an ability to be really, really present with each other.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
We had so many great conversations. We also had so much fun. Like it was so beautiful. Yosemite got a lot of snow this year. So the snow had melted and we went on a bunch of ice baths, which was so fun. Yeah, we highly recommend it, I think.
So much. I think, I mean, I'm going to go again this weekend.
Yeah, he's going back with his brother. I also think one thing that was really cool about the way we talked because a lot of people do every year they get married this whole like, oh, it's the year of the cotton, the year of the silver, the year of like that's a tradition and people who are asking us like, "Oh, are you guys going to do that?" Or we made a conscious decision to not do gifts and to create experiences for ourselves.
Yeah, and I think it was a good choice.
So where are we gonna go next year?
Backpacking.
I mean, I'm so open to it. I think it's for us a really just great way to be fully disconnected.
I think also what it's fun is that I think in that way we're a great team. Like we planned it. I
Hmm.
mean, we planned it together and thinking about the groceries and the food that we needed for the day
Hmm.
and what the backpacks we're gonna have and how we were gonna organize the hike and the equipment, the rentals, where we're gonna sleep the night before, like the whole logistics
Yeah, it was really
before
a
and
team
during.
effort.
It was really a team effort, and I think we were very good at collaborating in that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Love it. We also had these 6 questions that we talked about. Basically, I wanted a part of it to be reflective and for us to have conversations about it. And then at the end of the trip, we actually talked about what were our favorite highlights. And you said that the questions was one of your favorite highlights.
Yeah, I was really not expecting the questions thing, but it was good because we were in the middle of nowhere with no distractions and just having these introspective questions in nature. It was just amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
I'm
beautiful.
all about introspection in nature.
I'm going to link a blog post that I just wrote that has the 6 questions. So if anybody wants to do them with their partner, you guys are welcome to. We'll have them in the show notes. Yeah. So I feel like another big topic I want to bring up is kids.
Hmm.
And the reason I want to bring it up is so we were like a little bit on different pages, and I feel like we're a lot more on the same page. And just the external pressure of it. Like, I've been pretty surprised by the amount of people we've seen like recently at gatherings or going back home and like seeing, further away family or family friends, and the amount of people that are like, okay, so you've been a year married, like when are the kids coming, kind of thing. And there was a recent encounter with some friends, and this one friend in particular was like pushing a lot, and it's not somebody that we know like that well. And yeah, I was kind of surprised about it.
I think on my end, I really haven't felt the pressure outside. I think that the pressure has come from inside.
As in from me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I really feel very comfortable with not with the fact that I don't want to have kids right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you didn't feel comfortable when you felt like I did want them right now, right now.
Huh?
You didn't feel comfortable when you thought that I
Yeah.
wanted them right now and that I was pushing.
Yeah, because that created like a sense of urgency for me of okay, I felt that I needed to figure out by when I wanted to have kids. And also start creating like a plan, and if that's going to happen this year, then what does that mean? So it just created a lot of stress.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think for me, there was a lot of elements. I think one big element was not having my papers, my
Mm.
green card here. And I think, yeah. The other part is I know that I want kids, and I could, like, if I was to be pregnant tomorrow, I'd be overjoyed, which I know isn't the case for you.
I also want to be a father, and I'm super excited to have kids with you, and I'm looking forward to it. And there's times where I just think about having kids, and the typical that my mind just goes flying, and I get very sensitive. I cry just of the thought of being a father. So this is something that's also very dear for me. And I know that when the moment comes that I'm ready to do it, it's gonna be natural and it's gonna come.
Yeah. And I also, what I was going to say is, even though I know that I, want them and that if it happened tomorrow, I would be super happy. I feel like this is such a good example of the balance that we create in our relationship where I'm like, I need this tomorrow or I need this yesterday. And you're like, I want it in 5 years. I feel like it's been a common theme for just even getting in a official relationship and then getting engaged and then married and I think are a little bit at each extreme, and eventually we find our way into the middle. And I think one thing that we learned a lot is I have a tendency to like put blame, and it's a pattern that I'm trying to break. And you helped me realize that when people would ask us at the beginning, I think it's also because I felt like I was ready, but then you weren't. So I would actually say that to people.
Mm.
And I would be like, well, we just need to get him on board, or like little comments like that, which you shared with me you really didn't appreciate, which I really appreciate that you shared that with me. And then like, as soon as I stopped doing that, I feel like the dynamic also changed, and that you started bringing it more up, and you are
Mm.
having like more the desire to, because it's not coming from a place of me trying to rush you there, but you're actually able to just sit with like, oh, I do want this.
I think that it also allows the space for us to be on the same page
Hmm.
and to walk this path really together and not you rushing or me pulling back.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like we're in a really good space right now because we both know that we want it and that we have some kind of timeline like in our head, and we've talked about when we want to have a conversation about it again. And I've been telling you like there's also a lot of things around what I'm working through with my body and with also my own business, and knowing that right now isn't the time because of wanting to create a little bit more stability and all these things. So stay tuned, guys.
TBD.
We'll let you know. Yeah. Should we move to some of the questions that people asked online?
Sure.
All right. What is a new tradition that you've started as a married couple?
Backpacking every anniversary.
I love it. I mean, that's a pretty good one.
Well, we've also started to walking together. It's not like
Mhm.
a fixed tradition, but we go on a walks almost every day,
Yeah.
and it has been very nice.
Yeah. Just like after lunch or after dinner
Yeah,
or whatever.
I'm grateful that you brought this idea. Also, knowing that at the beginning, I was like, no, I really don't want to do it. But then now we're doing it, and it's nice.
And now you suggest it. You're like,
Yeah,
let's go on a walk.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that for me, not having to do it every day, but really just doing it when we want to, and it happens to be almost every day, it's nice.
Yeah. I think another tradition, we started this pre getting married, but it's our Thursday nights, date
Yeah,
nights.
date nights.
This was suggested during therapy to every single week set out a time. And I will never forget at the beginning, I was the one that was like, every week? Like,
Me
because
too.
we started pre pandemic, right?
Yeah,
So this is back when we both worked at different offices. Like, there was so much going on. I personally had so many work events often, and there was just a lot going on. We also had you also your work was so social. So I remember it was like, "What? It's impossible." And she was like, "It's even better if you actually choose a day and you really commit to that day." And so we do it every Thursday. However, like let's say we're invited to something and we really want to go, we will agree together to move it to Wednesday or Friday or another day.
it doesn't have to be anything crazy special. Sometimes we go for a movie or go watch the sunset or record a podcast.
This is a special one. We've never
Yeah,
done
yeah,
that on date night.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's time together. Sometimes it's even like going for a hike or a long
Hmm.
walk, or sometimes we play games and we order food. But what was important to us is that it's just time together outside of something we do on a day to day basis. And that's where it's like if it's a walk, we'll drive somewhere that's beautiful with the sunset and do that. Or, as you said, going to a movie. But there was a moment where we kind of got in the rhythm of like watching Netflix or watching a show. And then we were like, no, actually, this isn't
Yeah,
quality time together.
yeah.
And now we don't watch TV between Mondays and Fridays.
Except when there's football.
Okay, you've been watching it, but this was inspired by my dear friend Sarah Broyles. You should listen to that podcast if you haven't. She had some great tips about living a balanced life, and I've taken on the not watching things during the week, and it's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, you're doing very good.
Yeah. Any other traditions? I mean, this year we spent Christmas by ourselves. It was the first
Oh my
year
god, yeah.
we
That was
spent
a big
Christmas.
one.
It was really special, actually,
Yeah. I
but it's
mean,
not something we're going to keep going.
we don't know. It was so nice.
It was so nice, but next
Well, nice
Christmas we're going
around.
to be with my family.
Yeah, okay.
One thing that we also started before, though, is every New Year's spending it just the two of us.
Yeah,
And we did it for 5 years. Last year is the only year we broke it. And we did that because we had spent Christmas by
Christmas
ourselves.
together.
So we were like, okay, let's do New Year's with friends. That's been really special. I
Yeah,
really like that. And I feel like we should keep that going.
yeah. Okay, so either Christmas or New Year's by ourselves.
Yeah. I love personally New Year's because it's like such a ritual of ending and beginning. And I love that because we don't really drink much. And so usually, like, I remember our first year ever, we like did a little fire on the beach,
Yeah,
remember?
and we're burning stuff. It was
Yeah.
so nice. Yeah,
Burning our letting go of the last year and
yeah,
starting the new year.
yeah. We did a dance around the fire too.
Yeah, we did. Awesome. The next one is how do you both address conflict and navigate through it? Y'all are cute.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emily.
How do we navigate conflict?
How we address and navigate it. Yeah, navigate through it. I mean, personally, I address it pretty head on. Like, if there's conflict or if there's something to talk about, I'm usually the one to bring it up.
Yeah, which I love.
And then I think you help us more navigate through it because I'm like, usually I come quite heated and there's a lot of emotions there. And I feel like you'll be able to, you're very direct in a way that's sometimes so painful. and really, really helpful because you'll be able to be like, cut through the BS and really say it how it is. Then we can actually talk about what the issue is.
Yeah. Yeah, we're very good at conflict.
And when we're stuck, because we have been super stuck, this is why couples therapy has been so good for us.
Yeah, but something that I was thinking about that just now is that this conflict that we had before going to therapy, we could have just ignored it and keep
Mm,
our lives, right?
mm-hmm.
And keep on being a married couple, and things would have been okay. But I think that we really have a commitment, a beautiful commitment, to have a conscious marriage where we don't just bury things or put them under the rug, but really give light to them and figure them out.
Yeah.
That's what I meant when I said that it's not that we're stuck, because we could have continued, but we really
Mm,
choose to make the extra effort to figure out what's going on.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really well said. I think that's so true. And I think a lot of life, I think that's why a lot of, I don't know, humans are unhappy with things, whether it's relationships or other things, right? Because it's like easy to put it under the rug and keep going.
Yeah. And then things just get accumulated, and then
Mm,
it explodes.
yeah.
These are little like fractions or little separations that start accumulating. And we don't want that. We want to be together.
Yeah, exactly. I often say that for the pre-marriage work, it was like as if every little thing, not just from our marriage, but from each family's, was put under the rug. And then our coach just like shook that whole rug because that was really the process of getting married. Like there was just so much that came out that year. So
Yeah.
I also feel like this year has felt so easy compared to last year because we dealt with a lot of it already.
Yeah. Yeah. They say, what is it? Like hard conversations, easy life.
Yeah, we have a lot of hard conversations
Yeah.
for sure. I like what you said. We were stuck in that we could have just kept going, but we couldn't get to actually understanding what each of our limiting beliefs were behind
Mm.
it. And I think that's where it was so helpful to have a coach shine the light on like, hey, this is your little boy thinking it's unworthy. This is your little girl thinking she's not enough. Like whatever those things were, right?
Yeah.
Was really helpful.
Yeah. And I think it's funny because one of the questions that we discussed during our anniversary while we were backpacking was, what is something that we admire from each other? And we both said that we both admire from each other that we're very committed to self-development,
Mhm. Yeah, doing the work.
doing the work.
I mean, we're like such different people compared to how we started being together.
Yeah.
We've really worked super hard on that and it's been so worth it.
Hmm.
So beautiful. All right, next question. This one's really fun. I feel like you need to answer this because you're better at music. If your marriage had a theme song, what would the theme song be? I feel like it needs to be something like upbeat and fun, but also like really deep. And a
There's,
lot of love.
yeah, all of that for sure. It's funny. There's this song. This is a salsa song in Spanish.
Real love salsa, in case you don't know.
It's I forgot the artist's name, but he says something along the lines of, "This is not easy. This is not like you come and then you became famous." He talks about like the artist world and being a musician on his song. He's like, "This is not just you come and you are famous. This is hard work. This is a lot of commitment. This is," he says, arroz con habichuelas, or like kind of like a metaphor of, this is a complicated situation.
Hmm.
And it's funny because we live in a world where social media makes it seem so easy,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of, there's a lot of show. I think that we have a very happy marriage because we do the work.
Yeah. We'll find the song and put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
I also want to listen to it now. And actually, the last question is how did you choose the questions you did together and what are they? So we'll add the questions in the show notes and how we chose it. I literally just Googled it before we stopped having service.
Chat GPT.
No, it wasn't ChatGPT. That would have been a good idea. No, but it was from like a website of a therapist. And yeah, we turned it a little bit to be our own. stuff the way we did it, but it was really helpful as a tool to continue to reflect. Any last thoughts or words about our marriage this year? Pieces of advice or words of wisdom for somebody about to get married, or people that have been in a relationship, or people who are looking for love?
Not really.
Do the work.
Do the work, I guess.
Literally
Yeah.
for all of those options.
Yeah. Yeah. Work on yourself. Try to become the best version of who you are. Yeah. Be ready to receive and give love.
I love you so much.
You también.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was such a beautiful episode. Will you commit to coming every year?
I don't know. We'll explore that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like it's such a good, maybe this could also be a part of our reflection.
Yeah.
Then we can listen to them and be like, oh, this is where we were a year ago. And
Yeah. A new tradition, you say?
there we go. I think Felicia's the one that asked that.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. TBD. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you're enjoying the podcast, please rate and review. It's super helpful for other people to find out about the show. Yeah, and just let us know if you're enjoying it. You can let us know on social media if you liked it. And mi amorcito, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Bye, guys. See you next week.
Bye.